At dinner, my girlfriend tried a breakup test her friends had planned, expecting tears and begging. I simply paid the bill and left. 6 months later, every one of those friends sabotaged their own relationships, leaving her completely alone. Hey Reddit. So, I spent 2 years in what I thought was a solid, healthy relationship, until my girlfriend and her three genius friends decided to test my loyalty by staging a breakup on our anniversary. I know. Sounds insane. But before it got that messy, let me start from the beginning. I'm Rowan, 32, freelance designer. Most of my work is logos, website layouts, marketing stuff. Nothing glamorous, just steady and decent money. I'm pretty sarcastic by default, but I'm also straightforward. I don't do disrespect, I don't do games, and I don't sit around letting people walk all over me if I'm with someone. I'm all in, but I expect the same energy back. I met Lila at a college reunion about 2.5 years ago. I wasn't even planning to go. My best friend Kale talked me into it. He said I needed to remember what sunlight looks like because apparently I'd been working too much. We get there, and of course, he immediately disappears to go roast someone's haircut or critique the playlist. Typical. I'm standing near the food table, just minding my business, when Lila walks up. She had this bright, unfiltered laugh that made people turn their heads, not in an annoying way, just in that she sounds genuinely happy way. We got into a conversation about a dumb poster on the wall, some flyer with a weird dog on it, and she told me she volunteers at an animal rescue. I told her the dog looked like it had taxes to do. She laughed harder than she probably should have, and we just clicked. Simple as that. Early on, she was easy to be around. She'd tell me stories about the rescue shelter, how she bottle-fed kittens, how she had to chase a runaway beagle for 2 blocks, stuff like that. She was gentle with animals, but had this confident, practical side too. She'd talk about her long-term plans, like she actually meant them. It was refreshing. Our first couple of dates were normal stuff. Coffee shop, street fair, a walk around this lake she liked. She had quirks that grew on me fast. She'd talk with her hands a lot, like she was conducting an invisible orchestra. She'd randomly name animals she passed, even if they were clearly someone's pet. She was the type who saw a pigeon with a limp and immediately Googled what limping in pigeons could mean. I'm not the type who opens up easily, but with her, it didn't feel like effort. She never judged the sarcasm or the dry humor. She'd just roll her eyes and throw one back. It felt like a good balance. I kept things sharp. She softened the edges without trying to change me. Around this time, Kale got involved in the conversations. Not in a clingy third-wheel way, just checking if she passed the vibe test. Kale's the kind of guy who can insult you and somehow make it sound like a compliment. He's tall, calm, sharp as hell, and he doesn't sugarcoat anything. If someone tries disrespecting him or me, he fires back without blinking. But he's not chaotic about it. He hits you with the kind of sarcasm that's delivered with a straight face and perfect timing. When he met Lila, he didn't roast her at all, which was a pretty good sign. He just pulled me aside later and said, "She seems normal. Don't ruin this." Like he was my probation officer. That's about as supportive as he gets. We've been friends since early college, so our dynamic is basically second nature. Quick jokes, blunt honesty, and the kind of trust where I could call him at 3 a.m. and he'd show up without asking why the first 6 months with Lila were the kind of relationship most people would be grateful for. Smooth communication, no major arguments, no weird tension. We went to events together, split chores evenly, had good chemistry, supported each other's goals. All the stuff you'd check off on a relationship checklist. I didn't have to overthink anything. She made effort, I made effort, and it worked. It wasn't perfect, of course. She had 3 friends, Tessa, Brielle, and Nova, who hovered around her a lot. At that point, they weren't a big problem, more like a strange trio in the background. Tessa talked too much, like she was analyzing everyone for a class project. Brielle had this automatic distrust toward men that showed up in random comments. Nova was dramatic, but in a romantic Pinterest board kind of way. Nothing deal-breaking, just noticeable. By the end of the first year, I had 0 doubts about her. I wasn't naive or blinded. I just genuinely believed we understood each other. The chemistry was natural. The trust felt real. And Kale even admitted, "All right, she's solid. Keep her around." Coming from him, that's practically a wedding speech. If you asked me back then where I saw the relationship going, I'd have told you long-term without hesitation. We were building something that felt stable and easy, and I don't use the word easy lightly. It's rare. I didn't know it yet, but those 3 friends, the ones I barely paid attention to, would later become the reason everything fell apart. Over the next few months, I started seeing Lila's friends more than I expected. Not in a dramatic way. They were just around often. If I picked her up, they were there. If she and I grabbed lunch, one of them might accidentally show up. I didn't make a big deal out of it. Nothing seemed serious yet. Then Lila invited me to a dinner at her parents' house. She said it was a family thing, and that they wanted to see me again. I showed up expecting a relaxed evening. Her parents, her sister Mara, some normal conversation. Instead, when I walked in, Tessa, Brielle, and Nova were already sitting at the dining table like they lived there. They had plates in front of them and looked way too comfortable. Lila acted like this was totally normal. This was totally, "Oh, they were already hanging out, so I told them to come," she said casually. I didn't say anything about it. It wasn't my house. I greeted everyone and took a seat. Dinner started, and it didn't take long for things to feel off. Tessa sat directly across from me and immediately began dissecting everything I said. Like she was writing a research report, I mentioned a client project I had been working on, and she leaned forward with that intense expression she always had. "So, why did you choose freelance instead of something more stable?" she asked. Her tone wasn't curious. It was judgmental. I shrugged. "Because I like choosing who I work with, and I hate offices." She tilted her head like she discovered a hidden clue. Interesting. That usually means someone struggles with authority or long-term direction. I stared at her for a second. Or maybe it just meant I didn't like fluorescent lights. Across the table, Mara tried not to laugh. Brielle jumped in a bit later. Every time I spoke, she found a way to spin it into something negative about men. I mentioned fixing a shelf at home, and she said, "Yeah, guys always swear they know how to fix things until they make it worse." I replied, "Luckily, I fixed things correctly the first time." She rolled her eyes like that was impossible. Meanwhile, Nova spent most of dinner talking about relationships, like she was narrating a dramatic movie. Every normal situation became some symbolic moment in her mind. Lila told a simple story about us missing a bus once, and Nova instantly said, "Moments like that are tests, you know. It's about seeing how he reacts. If he's willing to run after the bus, that shows passion." I raised an eyebrow. I didn't run after the bus because it was raining, and the next one was 6 minutes later. Nova nodded like she knew better. Still, every moment in a relationship reveals something. Mara stepped in again. Not everything needs deep meaning. Sometimes a missed bus is just a missed bus. The friends went quiet for a second. They didn't like being challenged. Throughout the dinner, Mara kept watching them. She wasn't rude, but she shut down their unnecessary comments calmly. When Brielle made a harsh remark, Mara said, "That's a bit unfair." When Tessa tried digging into another question, Mara steered the conversation away. Lila didn't seem to notice any of it. She kept talking, laughing, and agreeing with her friends, like their behavior was totally normal. Every time I talked to her parents, her friends jumped in and answered for her, which clearly confused even her dad. After dinner, while everyone moved to the living room, Mara pulled Lila aside. I wasn't close enough to hear the exact words, but the tone said enough. Mara sounded serious, and Lila looked defensive. A few minutes later, Lila came back acting normal, but her energy felt different. When we were getting ready to leave, Mara followed me onto the porch. She lowered her voice. I talked to her. I told her her friends were inserting themselves into everything and that it wasn't healthy. I nodded. How'd she take it? She defended them, Mara said. Said I was judging them. I'm telling you because you deserve to know. If she keeps listening to them, this won't end well. I appreciated her being direct. Thanks for telling me. Mara nodded back. Just keep your eyes open, Rowan. On the drive home, Lila talked about how fun dinner was and how her friends fit right in with her family. I kept my answers short. It wasn't an argument, but my mind was somewhere else. Nothing terrible happened that night, but something definitely shifted. Something small, subtle, but real. That dinner was the first time I sensed the ground starting to move under the relationship. The weeks after that dinner were when things started shifting in ways I couldn't ignore. It began small. Lila canceled a plan we'd made. Nothing major, just a simple date night. But the way she did it was different. No apology, no explanation. Just, I'm not feeling it tonight. Followed by a weird tone like she was waiting for a reaction. I told her, all right, let me know next time, and kept my day going. She seemed surprised I didn't push or question her, almost disappointed. Then she pulled little moves that felt off. If we were out together and a guy walked by, she'd suddenly mention something about how someone flirted with her earlier, or how guys stare at her all the time. She'd never done that before. It wasn't bragging. It felt intentional, like she was checking my reaction. I kept calm each time. I wasn't going to play along with whatever game she was trying to run, and I think the lack of reaction confused her even more. A couple days later, she tried starting an argument over something tiny. Me forgetting to reply to one of her midday texts. She didn't even sound genuinely upset. It sounded rehearsed. She kept pushing for a reaction, waiting for me to snap or chase or apologize unnecessarily. I didn't do any of that. I said, I was working. That's it. Then I went back to what I was doing. She didn't know what to do with that answer. The more she pushed these little tests, the colder I became. Not in a petty way, just enough to keep my distance. I wasn't about to reward disrespect or weird tactics. I'm loyal, but I'm not blind. She noticed fast. One night she asked, Are you upset with me? You seem different. I told her the truth. You've been acting off. I'm matching your energy. She didn't know how to respond. She just turned quiet and stayed that way for the rest of the evening. A day later, I told Kale everything that had been happening. He didn't even let me finish. She's acting childish, he said flatly. If she wants to be in a real relationship, she needs to act like an adult, not like she's auditioning for some teenage drama. He leaned back on my couch like it was obvious. Don't feed into it. If she wants respect, she needs to give it. I know, I said. Good, Kale replied. Because the second you start playing along with that crap, they win. And by they, I mean the three gremlins she calls friends. I laughed, but he wasn't wrong. A few days later, Mara reached out and asked if Lila had been acting strange. Yeah, I admitted. Mara sighed like she expected that answer. I talked to her again. I told her those girls influence her too much. She got defensive. She keeps saying I'm overreacting, but I can see exactly what's happening, Rowan. She's listening to them more than she's listening to herself. Did she say why? I asked. She thinks they're looking out for her, Mara said. But they're not. They're projecting their own problems onto her life. I knew Mara was right. I'd seen enough to understand what she meant. But the moment everything clicked wasn't something someone told me. It was something I heard by accident. Lila and I were sitting on the couch one night. She was scrolling through her phone. She must have tapped a voice message by mistake, because her phone suddenly played audio on speaker, loud enough that I could hear every word. It was Nova's voice, clear and direct. You have to test his loyalty. Like, actually test it. Cancel stuff. Pull back a little. See how far he'll go for you. If he doesn't fight for you, then he's not serious. You deserve a man who reacts. Lila froze. I froze. She scrambled to pause the message, but the damage was done. She looked at me with wide eyes, like she had been caught cheating on a final exam. I didn't say anything at first. I just stared at her while she tried to pretend she didn't hear what I heard. She forced out, she didn't mean it like that. Yeah, I said. She meant it exactly like that. Lila didn't respond. She just stared at her phone, realizing the situation was impossible to talk her way out of. That message explained everything. The canceled plans, the jealousy baiting, the random fights. None of it was natural. None of it came from her. It all came from her friends. And she listened. That was the part that bothered me most. I should have walked away right then, and maybe a version of me with less history would have. But 2 years is a long time to throw away in one night. I wanted to be sure I'd seen the full picture before I made a decision I couldn't take back. A few minutes passed before she whispered, You're acting cold lately. I'm reacting to how you've been treating me, I said. You wanted a reaction. This is it. She didn't have a comeback. She just looked frustrated and confused, like she wasn't expecting her little tests to meet resistance. By the end of the night, she barely said a word. I didn't push. I didn't comfort her. I didn't pretend everything was fine. She created this distance, I just wasn't closing it for her. On the way home later, she held my hand, but it felt different. Not affectionate. More like she was trying to check if she still had a grip on me. The thing is, she didn't realize the truth yet. Those tests weren't proving anything about me. All they did was reveal things about her. By the end of that week, the tension was no longer subtle. It was everywhere. Between us, around us, underneath every conversation. And even though I hadn't said the words out loud, I had already started pulling back. Our 2-year anniversary landed on a Friday. Even with everything that had been going on, the tests, the coldness, the tension, I still planned something meaningful. Not because I was trying to win anything, but because I don't half-ass things I care about. I booked the restaurant where we had our first official date, small place. Quiet, good food, nothing flashy. After dinner, we were supposed to drive out to a weekend cabin spot she once mentioned wanting to visit. I'd made the reservation weeks earlier when things were still normal. I didn't cancel it. If the relationship was going down, it wasn't going to be. Because I stopped putting in effort, Lila showed up dressed nice, but her energy wasn't the same. She wasn't smiling naturally. She wasn't excited. She looked wired, like she had eaten too much caffeine or was waiting for something to happen. The first thing she did when she got in the car was check her phone, then check it again 10 seconds later. You good? I asked. Yeah. Just thinking about something. I didn't push. On the drive, she barely talked. She just stared at her screen every few minutes, typing something, then locking it quickly whenever I glanced over. Not suspicious like she was talking to a guy, more like she was following instructions. We got to the restaurant, and the pattern didn't stop. She kept glancing down at her phone under the table. I'd be in the middle of a sentence, and she'd zone out, reading something. When I paused, she'd look up fast like she got caught. I wasn't jealous. I wasn't insecure. I was watching her behavior because it was loud. My phone buzzed mid-dinner. I checked it, thinking maybe it was Kyle. It wasn't. It was Mara. Hey, I don't want to ruin your night, but something feels off with Lila today. Check in with yourself. Just be aware. She didn't send messages like that unless she meant it. She never inserted herself unless necessary. I typed back, she's acting weird already. Mara responded immediately. I tried talking to her earlier. She was tense. Just stay sharp. I put my phone away and looked at Lila. She was staring at her screen again, thumbs hovering, waiting. She wasn't even pretending to pay attention to the moment. At that point, I wasn't confused. I already knew what her friends were capable of. I knew the voice message I heard wasn't a one-time thing. I knew they had a pattern. Still, I watched. She barely touched her food. She picked at it, checked her phone, put it down, checked it again. Her knee bounced under the table. She looked like someone about to take a test she didn't study for. At one point, I asked, "Everything okay?" She jumped a little. "Yeah, totally." "Why? You're acting like you're waiting for something." She swallowed hard and shook her head. "No, I'm fine." Her phone vibrated again. She tried to ignore it for a second, then caved and checked it anyway. The message must have been important, because her whole posture changed. Stiff shoulders, deep inhale, eyes shifting up at me like she was mentally preparing for something. Whatever she read, she didn't hide her reaction well at all. I leaned back in my chair, calm as ever. If she was planning something behind my back, she'd already shown half her hand. "Want dessert?" I asked casually. She shook her head. "Maybe not. I don't know. I'm kind of full." She wasn't full. She was anxious. Her texting picked up right after that. She held the phone low, barely lifting it above her lap. When the server walked by, she locked it fast. When the server left, she unlocked it again. She typed something quick. Then another vibration came in. Then she typed again. It didn't stop. I stayed still, watching quietly, taking it all in. This wasn't a woman about to have a loving anniversary dinner. This was someone preparing for a moment she didn't have the confidence to deliver on her own. She put her phone down, took a deep breath, and looked at me like she was about to start a speech. Then she froze. She hesitated. She picked up her phone again. One more message. One more cue. I didn't need Mara's warning anymore. I knew exactly what was happening. Whatever plan her friends had put in her head, whatever script they gave her, whatever test they convinced her to run, she was trying to execute it now. Right here. On our anniversary. In a restaurant we had memories in. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I wasn't afraid. I was waiting. She stared at her phone one last time, let out a shaky breath, and placed it slowly on the table. "Rowan," she said quietly, "can we talk about something?" I didn't interrupt. I didn't ask what. I just nodded once. She tried to hold my gaze, but her eyes flicked down again, straight to the screen lighting up with a new notification. Her friends were texting her in real time, and whatever they were telling her to do, she was about to do it. The moment hung in the air, heavy and obvious. I leaned back, calm and steady, while she gathered the courage to start her rehearsed speech. She hesitated again, like she needed to replay a script in her head first. Then she straightened her posture and launched into it. "I've been thinking a lot about us," she began, voice rehearsed word for word. "And I feel like we've grown apart. You don't fight for me the way someone should if they truly love me. I need passion. I need effort. I need to feel like you'd do anything to keep me." She didn't blink the entire time she said it. It wasn't her voice. It wasn't her style. It wasn't even her reasoning. It was a speech. A speech someone else wrote for her. When she finished, she waited for my reaction. Like someone waiting for a fire alarm to go off, I looked at her calmly. "Who told you to say that?" She swallowed hard. "Nobody. That's how I feel." "Right," I said. "Try again." Her eyes flicked to the side, toward her phone. She didn't touch it, but her gaze gave everything away. She'd read instructions. She memorized lines. And now she was hoping I'd perform my part. I sat there, straight-backed, no panic, no anger, no confusion. just watching her. Lila, I said, what do you actually want? She froze. She wasn't expecting that question. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again, failed again. She kept shifting in her chair like she was trying to find the real reason but couldn't. I just want... She cut herself off. I leaned slightly forward. You don't know. Because this isn't your idea. She looked down, breathing unevenly. I didn't drag it out. I didn't argue. I didn't negotiate. I didn't play the dramatic scene her friends were probably betting on. If you're ending it, I said plainly, then it's done. Her head snapped up immediately. What? That's it? That's what you said you wanted. Rowan, no, you're supposed to... She stopped herself halfway through the sentence, realizing she was revealing too much. I held her gaze steady and unbothered. Supposed to what? She blinked rapidly. You're supposed to care enough to stop me. I'm not stopping someone from choosing to leave, I said. I'm not chasing you. I'm not forcing you. I'm not begging you. If you're out, you're out. Her jaw dropped like she'd just watched the plot twist she never planned for. She wasn't prepared for a calm breakup. She wasn't prepared for a man who respected himself. She wasn't prepared for zero drama. She was prepared for a scene her friends had told her to push me into one. You're not even fighting for this, she stammered. I shook my head. You don't throw your relationship off a cliff and then complain I didn't dive after it. She went completely silent. The server approached the table slowly, sensing tension. I handed him my card before he even spoke. I got it, I said. Lila watched me like she couldn't process what was happening. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't insult her, I didn't get emotional, but I also didn't hesitate. When the check came back, I signed it, stood up, pushed my chair in, and looked at her one last time. You made your choice, I said. Own it. She reached out slightly like she wanted to stop me but didn't know how. Rowan. Wait. For what? I asked. She didn't answer. I walked out of the restaurant, calm, collected, and fully done. She had her phone, her sister, and a whole support system she chose over me. Getting home wasn't my responsibility anymore. The fallout began within an hour. I got a few missed calls first, then texts. I didn't mean for it to go like that. Can we talk? You're misunderstanding the situation. You weren't supposed to just leave? I ignored every single one. The next morning, Mara called me. I picked up because she never called unless it was serious. She asked carefully, Did something happen last night? Yeah, I said. It's over. Mara exhaled sharply, like she expected it, but hoped she was wrong. I'm sorry, Rowan. I really am. Don't apologize, I said. She chose it. No, Mara replied quietly. Her friends chose it for her. I didn't respond, so she continued. I found out something this morning. One of their acquaintances told me Tessa and Nova were texting Lila during dinner. They told her exactly when to say it. They literally said, do it before dessert so he doesn't think it's a nice night. The restaurant, her phone under the table, the constant glances, the sudden shift before she spoke. Everything lined up. It wasn't just a breakup. It was a coordinated performance. Rowan, Mara said gently, this wasn't her. They pushed her into it. Yeah, I said. I figured. And I did. None of it was a surprise anymore. What mattered was that Lila listened to them. She let them steer her relationship into a wall. Mara sighed heavily. I'm really sorry. It's fine, I said. It is what it is. I wasn't angry or heartbroken or confused. I was just done. And for the first time in months, I felt clear. Over the next couple of days, my phone looked like it was trying to overheat itself. Calls, texts, notifications stacked on top of each other like she was trying to force the door back open after slamming it shut. The messages were all over the place. You weren't supposed to take it seriously. It was just a test. You're misunderstanding what I meant. We need to talk right now. Answer me. I didn't reply. Not one word. You don't get to test someone's loyalty by blowing up the entire relationship and expecting them to clean up the pieces. I wasn't rewarding manipulation. I wasn't teaching her that emotional games worked. I wasn't signing up for round 2. The next morning, the messages doubled. Please don't ignore me. I didn't actually mean any of it. My friend said, Are you really giving up that easily? That last one made me laugh. Giving up? I didn't quit. She ended it. Around noon, Kale showed up unannounced. He didn't even knock properly, just banged once and walked in like he owned the place. He took one look at me, one look at the messages lighting up my phone, and smirked. So, he said, dropping himself onto my couch. She failed her own exam, huh? I snorted. She failed before she even handed it in. Kyle picked up my phone, read one of her messages out loud in an exaggerated voice, and shook his head. Bro, this is why you don't take advice from people whose longest relationship is their gym membership. He tossed the phone back to me and stretched out like he came for entertainment. I'm proud of you, though, he said. Most dudes would have folded the second she fake cried. She didn't cry, I said. Even worse. She rehearsed, Cal replied. That's like emotional theater. Despite the sarcasm, he wasn't mocking the situation, he was grounding it, reminding me I made the right call by walking away. Later that evening, Mara called. Rowan, I'm sorry, she said quietly. I wish I could say I'm surprised, but I'm not. You warned her? I replied. She didn't listen. She's been crying all day, Mara admitted. But I told her that's on her, not you. I paused. Is she still listening to them? Of course she is, Mara said. They're telling her that your reaction proves something about you. I told her she handled everything terribly. She didn't want to hear it. I appreciated her honesty. Mara didn't enable anyone. She wasn't the type to bend the truth to protect feelings. I'm sorry you got dragged into this, she added. I'm not, I said. It showed me everything I needed to see. And for the next 2 weeks, Lila kept trying. Calls, texts, paragraphs. Then silence for a day. Then more paragraphs. I didn't respond to any of it. She wasn't apologizing. She was trying to undo a consequence. 2 weeks later, on a Thursday evening, someone knocked on my apartment door. I checked the peephole and saw Lila standing there with a cardboard box in her hands. I opened the door halfway. What are you doing here? She held the box like it was a peace offering. I brought you your favorite snacks and a letter. Inside the box were chips, candy, and some random things she knew I liked. A mix of effort and panic. She stepped inside when I didn't invite her, which already told me she wasn't here to talk. She was here to fix something without facing the truth. I didn't mean the breakup, she said quickly. It wasn't real. I didn't think you'd actually walk away. You said it, I replied. It was a test, she insisted, voice shaking. My friends said it would show how committed you were. Your friends told you to end your relationship, I said. And you listened. She blinked fast. They just wanted to help. They know. No, I cut her off. They don't know anything. She looked down. I know it sounded scripted, but I didn't know how else to say it. That's the problem, I said calmly. You weren't saying anything real. You were repeating someone else's lines. She reached into the box and pulled out a folded paper. Please just read the letter. I want to explain. I didn't take it. You can explain right now. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Like before, she had no real reason, no real thoughts, no actual understanding of what she'd done. Just guilt and fear of consequences. Finally, she whispered, I messed up. Yeah, I said. You did. I can fix it. No, I said firmly, you can't. Her eyes filled with tears. Not dramatic, just defeated. You're not even willing to try? You ended it, I repeated. I accepted it. That's it. She looked at me like she didn't recognize the man standing in front of her anymore. The version of me her friends described, someone she needed to provoke, didn't exist. She backed toward the door, holding the box tightly. So, this is really over? It ended the second you made it a game, I said. I'm not interested in being tested. I'm interested in being respected. She swallowed, nodded weakly, and finally walked out. I didn't watch her leave. I closed the door, locked it, and let the silence settle. No shouting, no drama, no begging, just a clean ending. And for the first time in months, I felt completely done. The breakup hit Lila hard, but it hit her friend group harder. Not because they cared about me, but because without the relationship to obsess over, they turned their attention on each other. And the same habits they used to tear down our relationship tore down everything around them. Tessa ended up dating a guy from her job a month after the breakup. At first, she acted normal. Then she slid right back into her detective mode. She questioned him about why he used certain emojis, why he didn't respond fast enough, why he liked a coworker's post, why he said maybe instead of probably. It didn't take long before, from what I heard, he told people, dating her feels like being investigated. He left after 3 weeks. Tessa tried to frame it as him hiding something, but everyone around her already knew the truth. Brielle tried dating again too. She met a decent guy through a mutual friend. The dude genuinely liked her. He took her on real dates, checked in, tried to build something healthy, but Brielle treated him like he was already guilty of something. If he took too long to reply, she accused him of lying. If he hung out with friends, she claimed he was meeting another girl. If he paid her a compliment, she asked what he really meant. He broke things off after 2 weeks, and according to a mutual friend said, she's looking for betrayal so hard, she creates it herself. People started keeping their distance from her because the negativity was exhausting. Nova got hit the hardest. She liked a guy from her gym. One of those normal, stable guys who didn't entertain drama. Things seemed to be going well until Nova decided to pull the exact same breakup test nonsense on him. She told him she needed space to think, expecting him to chase her. He simply said, "All right," and from what I heard later, blocked her the next morning. Word spread fast, and not just about the test. A mutual friend told him Nova was the one who pushed Lila to do the breakup stunt with me. Once that detail got out, her whole relationship expert persona fell apart. People stopped asking her for advice because she was the reason someone else's relationship crashed. It didn't take long for the three of them to turn on each other. According to Mara, their group chat basically turned into a battlefield, and eventually they split apart. And Lila? The fallout hit her the quietest, but the hardest. Once they turned on each other, they stopped showing up for her. They weren't there to hype her up. They weren't there to back her decisions. They weren't there to tell her she did the right thing by ending us. They just disappeared. Suddenly, all the people she defended so aggressively vanished the moment their own lives fell apart. She was left alone with the consequences. At some point, she finally told Mara the truth, that she regretted everything, that she should have thought for herself, and that she realized too late that the friendship she chose over the relationship wasn't even real. Mara listened, then told her the simple truth. "I warned you, Lila." Lila didn't argue this time. From what Mara told me, she just nodded and cried. As for me, life got better. Quietly and steadily. Work picked up more than ever. I started sleeping better. I got into a solid routine, cooked more, went to the gym, didn't wake up with stress sitting in my chest. The silence in my apartment stopped feeling empty and started feeling peaceful. Kyle stayed the same. Sarcastic, brutal, loyal. He came by often, sometimes to check on me, sometimes to eat my food, sometimes just to say something unnecessary like, "Proud of you for deleting emotional parasites from your life." He kept things light. He kept things real. Mara and I kept in touch too. Not in a romantic way. She wasn't trying anything. She just respected me enough to check in, and I respected her for always being upfront. She told me bits about how Lila was doing, not to reopen wounds, but because she knew I deserved clarity after everything. I wasn't bitter or angry, or plotting revenge. Life took care of the karma on its own. People reveal who they are over time. Her friends revealed themselves. Lila revealed how easily influenced she was. And I revealed, to myself, that I wasn't the kind of man who begged to stay where he wasn't respected. 6 months later, I finally felt like myself again. I wasn't avoiding relationships, but I wasn't rushing anything either. Peace was better than chaos. Respect was better than passion. Forced through drama, I knew what I wanted, and more importantly, what I would never tolerate again. If the right person came along someday, great. If not, I was good on my own. Looking back, the breakup wasn't the worst thing that happened to me. Letting it drag on longer would have been. And that's something I wouldn't trade for anything. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.